Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 11.5 of the Overlanding Newbie. So if you haven't checked out episodes 11, 1 through 4, and you want to go back, you'll get a little bit more background on using the Gaia navigation app. But if you wanted just to jump into how I go about my process for planning or exploring new areas, this is the right video. So let's jump in. I'll show you some screen recording a little bit here of how I go about doing some initial research on what my process is anytime I'm going into a new area and starting to scout it out. So thanks for coming along for the ride.
All right, so let's quickly, I think, in this video, just kind of show you what my overall research route planning process is. This is just kind of a bridge between the previous video, which was talking about the layers and the different maps that I use pretty frequently and which ones are my favorites. And then the next video is going to be, I'll actually build out a route in Gaia Maps. In this case, I just kind of want to more talk about some of my philosophy and the process in which I go through when I build a route out. So a lot of times I'll spend time just kind of dragging around maps, and I'll kind of go in and discover something. Again, this is what we're looking at here is the Gaia Topo base layer here. Again, pretty basic. This is where I'll kind of start my exploration. Again, a lot of times I'm just kind of dragging and looking and searching. Another option that you have is you can go up here in the search bar and you can type in a landmark, an area, a lake, a river, a national forest, different things like that, and you'll get results there that will take you there. So in this case, I'm going to use that to kind of take us in the area where I want to do a little bit of research. I'm familiar with a route called Deer Valley. So here, these are probably the same thing here, Deer Valley and Deer Valley four-wheel drive trail, but obviously I know I'm looking for the four-wheel drive trail. I'll tell you in this case, this is not one that's going to be friendly for a guy with a trailer like I have, but I figured it'd just be kind of a fun one to take a look at. So it takes me there, I zoom out, and basically now I'm going to start my exploration. So personally, I am familiar with coming in at the top of the map here, past these two blue lakes, and then I've actually come back this four-wheel drive trail into Meadow Lake. So if you see, it's got the dotted sidelines, which if you go to your map and you click here, you can get your key, scroll down, dotted side map tells us it's an unmaintained road, high clearance road for four-wheel drive road. So again, this is in our Gaia Maps, Gaia Topo Maps. Again, just kind of a general point. So this is our route we're looking at here. So what I'll do now, just so that I don't lose track of kind of where I'm at, is I'll set a waypoint. I might do it most of the time I do it at the destination that I want to go to. So in this case, my starting point would be here right around Highway 4, coming into the valley, and I would be taking this route all the way up to these blue lakes, unless I knew there was a dispersed camping or something along the line. But in this case, I'm just going to, I'm going to create a new waypoint. What I want to do is I want to create that waypoint in a folder. Previously video I had talked about kind of organization within here. So I want to create it within a folder so that I know if I want to go find that waypoint again, I know where I'm going to find it. In this case, the location would be, God, it's right on the border of these two national forests. I can tell you exactly what I can do. I can go to my U.S. Forest Service map here, and it's going to tell me that I'm in El Dorado National Forest on this side when I go in here. You can see the different colorations on this map because these are different jurisdictions. So the purple here would not be within the Forest Service jurisdiction, and we'll kind of get to that as part of the research here. So I'm really quickly just going to go back to my topo for the Gaia Topo map, just so that I continue to kind of use that as my general location. I know that I want to file this waypoint in the El Dorado National Forest folder. One of the things I'm not a huge fan of is when I click into my folder, it's going to bring me back to some general waypoints that I have here in El Dorado Forest. So I'm going to go back to Deer Valley and click on my four-wheel drive trail. And I'm going to come here. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to click New Waypoint, which is this link here. I'm just going to go ahead and drag it right here. So now I've got a waypoint, and now I'm not going to lose track of this being a destination. So what I'm going to call this is Deer, I keep wanting to call it Deer Creek, Deer Valley at Blue Lakes. Okay. So now I've got my waypoint. It did not save it in my folder. So what I want to do is I want to go move to folder. I am going to go into more folders, and I'm going to drop it in the El Dorado National Forest folder. All right, cool. So now I got my waypoint. Now I just want to kind of do general exploration around this area to make sure that it's a spot I do want to truly plan a route to. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do, first and foremost, is I want to take a look at my MVUM map. So again, this is the motor vehicle use map layer. And you saw me click off the Gaia Topo map. I guess I just do that out of habit with this map, because this map truly is only the data of these lines that you see here. It doesn't have a background map that it goes on top of. So by default, Gaia throws it on top of the Gaia Topo map. So if you see me throw this up here, whoops, good Lord, come on, computer. I'm going to order it this way, so my MVUM map layer is on top of my Gaia map. It didn't change. If I was to throw it on top of my U.S. Forest Service map, so I get rid of Gaia Topo, and I throw MVUM on the top of, now you see the base layer of the MVUM on top of the U.S. Forest Service, and now that look changes. We're going to come back to the U.S. Forest Service here in a minute, but again, I just kind of am more comfortable looking at it clean like this. So now I can kind of see where I have designated motor vehicle use roads. Now, as you can see here, the designation changes about this point in the road. So I'll go back to my key. This key is one of the most simple keys of all the maps. This is it. It just kind of has these classifications, and that's about it. So this first section of the road was the road that's open to all vehicles. So to me, what that tells me is dirt bikes can be on here, side-by-sides can be on here, four-wheelers can be on here. Any vehicle can use this. When it's a road open to highway legal vehicles only, this is registered vehicles with the, in California it's the DMV. So this tells me it's more of a traditional road. And then down here we start to get into a little bit more detailed classifications within the trail classification. So now we're not road classifications, we're trail classifications. So this is where you're going to tend to see classifications for routes that are on a little bit more aggressive four-wheel drive access roads. So here you see I've got the dark black and white back and forth classification. So this is a road that's open to all vehicles. So it's designated as a road, but you do not have to have a registered vehicle on it. And then it transitions into this ... which is a trail. So to me, that tells me it's much more aggressive in its nature. If I click on this, this tells me it's Forest Service Route 08 and 02. I can click on this, and this is going to tell me the classifications, that it's open to all of these vehicles, but it's only open April 15th through 12/15. That tells me it's seasonal, so even though those are the dates, there is a chance that it won't open because of snow if snow is still hanging around aggressively in mid-April. So then I can click on this one, and now it's going to tell me that it's Forest Service Route 19E01. I click on it, and it's giving me the different designation. This one's open April 1st through 12/31. So now I kind of know I have a truly designated MVUM road all the way through. I'm happy with that. That makes me feel good. I hate it when I see areas like, if I scroll out, blotchy areas that have roads, but only these sections are designated on the MVUM map. Doesn't mean I'll avoid it entirely, but I'd much rather a nice, solid, true route with this designation all the way through. So I like that piece. So the next thing I do is I'll take a look at the private property map. I want to make sure and know kind of where I'm going if I'm going through any private property. So I'm going to keep my MVUM map up, and then I'm going to come down here and I am going to go into private land. And as you can see in our view here, really nothing changed. The only thing that changed is this little guy up here in the corner, this red or this gold square. So if I click that off, you see that go away. I click it, it comes back. So that is telling me that section right there is private land. If I scroll in a little closer, it's going to drop in. It's going to tell me this is alpine land and reservoir. So sometimes private land you will be, agencies of the government, counties and things like that. Here in this case, we've got two what looks to be private owners of this land. But if I scroll out, my route has no private land on it. I love that. That's great. I don't have to worry about going through an easement on anybody's property or where I'm doing dispersed camping or anything else like that. So next thing I'll do is I will keep my MVUM map up. I'm going to get rid of the private land, and now I want to look at the U.S. Forest Service. So really, from a U.S. Forest Service standpoint, what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for change in color around these to kind of tell me that I might be dealing with either private land, county land. Truly, the true designation of these purple colors is just that they are revisions since the last map has happened. But oftentimes I'm finding that those revisions are a result of the private land access giving additional information around that. If I scroll in here and I take away my MVUM, you see that it has this different trail or different route key labeling on it. So if I go to my U.S. Forest Service map and I click on my key here, and basically what I did is I went from a side side dashes to center dashes. So if I go over to my key here, I went from an unimproved road to a trail. So that's telling me I'm going from dirt, gravel to something pretty aggressive. And I need to be cautious about that. So if I go back here, I'm taking a look at that. But this also really does kind of match up with what I saw on my MVUM map if I go here, and let's just say I get rid of U.S. Forest Service, you see that that MVUM map has that designation about the same area that U.S. Forest Service does. So again, just kind of validating what I know already, which is great. I like to see two data sources there telling me the same thing. Then next thing I will really use the U.S. Forest Service map for is looking for gates. U.S. Forest Service is great about putting gates on some roads, and for the most part they're pretty good about telling you where those gates are. I say for the most part because they're not perfect. There are times where I've got a route that that we use that had a fire, and it was just outside of Yosemite National Park, and the area had a fire, then it had a landslide, and they put a gate in to close a very large section of the road, and you couldn't get past it, and it's not on this map. So best practice is call your, if you're going through U.S. Forest Service and you've got a ranger district that will tell you right here that you're on the Carson-Amador Ranger District, call them. Ask them if there's any gates that aren't showing up on the most recent U.S. Forest Service map that you've got access to. A gate will look like, when you look at the gate, a gate will look like this guy right here, or a barrier will look like this guy right here. So that's why I typically will bust out the U.S. Forest Service layer, is to validate what I'm seeing on my Gaia, validate what I'm seeing on my MVUM, and then to look for look for gates. Okay, so now that I've done that, I want to take a look at this via satellite. So for me, the best way that I do this is I'll go to my waypoint or somewhere near the waypoint that I dropped on here, and let's just kind of click this spot. The Gaia Maps will come up with this this information here. You can click to copy those coordinates. I then will pop over here to Google. I'll just paste it, open up my map. I go to my layers on my map and I turn it to satellite. And now I start going and actually looking at this with real eyes and taking a look at my route. You can obviously scroll in, and this gets a little bit better than the satellite pictures that Gaia has. So this is kind of the only time that I'm really from a map layer standpoint going outside of Gaia is to come into Google Satellite. So I'll take a look and research an area there, and then after doing that, I want to take a look at, has anybody else come in this area and put anything down that might be useful in public tracks. So I'm going to go back to my Gaia Topo just because, again, I'm comfortable using that and I think it's the prettiest. I'm going to have it on top of, actually I'll throw my MVUM on top of that. You know what, I didn't show it in an earlier video, but just because I'm here, what you can do is you can actually kind of decrease the percentage that these layers show up on here. So if you see that it's kind of starting to lighten what's being put on by the MVUM layer, you can adjust that way. So now what I want to do is I want to see if there's any public tracks, anybody else that's put out a public recording of what they've done. And sure enough, there is. Here is somebody's route here, here's somebody's route here, here's somebody's route here. So I can click on this guy, and here are other people's tracks. So now I can go in, I can look at their tracks, I can look at a ton of information about it. Let's see here. I'm going to look at this 7-hour one. What I'll oftentimes do is I will look at their average speed, and it will tell me, was it somebody hiking Was it somebody on a dirt bike? Was it somebody in a Jeep or a truck? This tells me it's somebody in a Jeep or a truck because of the moving speed was in this range. So, and the max speed number as well. So I can see all kinds of information about their trip right here. You can actually follow along with it. If you see right about here, there's a dot kind of moving on the screen because that's the portion of the track that we were on. So you can save this as your own track and start making modifications, but this tells me somebody else has gone through here. It does exist. It is doable. Cool. In the same vein, and I'm going to go back here and I'm just going to shut off this public tracks because it's a little noisy and I'm not a huge fan of it. In the same vein, I also subscribe to Trails Off-Road. And Trails Off-Road is a growing database of people putting up public tracks. And so this is another resource I'll use for it. The great thing about Trails Off-Road is you can import a trail into Gaia. So here I am, I've logged in. I'm going to go to Find Trails. Well, here I remember that I was already looking at the Deer Valley route, but how I got here was I just kind of scrolled out on their maps and I just started looking around. Here's all these are recorded tracks that people have put on. The great thing I like about Trails Off-Road that is definitely more information that I'm getting from the public tracks in Gaia is I can click on it. It right off the bat tells me the difficulty of the route. So again, looking at this picture, you can see this is a badass route. And it immediately kind of tells me some information here, so I can know, is it temporarily closed, seasonal closures? Is it difficult? What am I getting into? Should I even spend more time looking at it? Then I can click on read more, and I'm telling you, it gives you a ton of data. These guys put in a ton of waypoints along their routes, and then do great write-ups. The people on here are awesome. I love this. We've got videos that they'll post. They'll give some definite areas of concerns and things about the trail. They'll do a little bit more detailed write-up here. And then again, they kind of do a full-on waypoint write-up with pictures, information, all the cool like names of the obstacles and things like that they're going through is all on here. So if you decide you like this, now what you can do is you can come here and you can click on upload to Gaia. So you click this link, you authorize it, you wait, it's done. And now once you've got that downloaded back over into Gaia, you will see that Gaia created a folder specifically for the Deer Valley Trail, the Deer Valley Trails off-road data. So all of the waypoints came in and the track came in. So all of that information is there. And then if you wanted to, what you could do is you can take and go back here to all of your saved items. You can click on the Deer Valley, and I can take and I can move this into my El Dorado National Forest folder where I had the rest of my waypoint and everything else that I was looking at here. So that's Trails Off-Road. You can import them, import those in. A lot of times I'll just use Trails Off-Road as a general research tool, and I'll still build out all of my own information within Gaia from waypoints and routes and stuff like that. But great tool to use. So the last thing I was going to show you is that when you are looking and doing some of this research, the last thing to do is really just take a look at other map layers, depending on where you're at, what you're doing. A lot of times there are unique maps to your area, so you could search by state, Georgia, for instance, and you can You can see some of this information here. You can search the map layers here, actually, is what I meant to do. And here's, you know, a Georgia map. A lot of times what I'll do when I'm in a specific area is I'll just double check Nat Geo and their maps and see if I've got a specific map that might be applicable to my area. So that's really the base research process that I do. In this next one, what I'll do is I'll show you how I lay out a route and how I put it together in preparation for actual on-trail usage. So as always, thanks for coming along for the ride. And the next video up will actually, like I said, put a new route together.